Camera check. Makeup. You can't see it anyway. Let's do this. So we had our episode with Goddess Emmeline. And we talked about master-slave relationship dynamics. We also sent out some Q&As and we did get one back. So instead of just not giving you that information at all, we like to get a variety of opinions. So I wanted to read those questions and answers to you as well. And then I will post the Q&A list on kinkyintroverts.com so that you can enjoy the conversation there. And you can find their artwork at Ravens Flock Art on Twitter. Question 1. To us, an MS relationship is a long-term committed relationship between two consenting adults in which the slave has surrendered themselves to the master. By surrendering themselves, it is the surrender of complete autonomy to the choices and will of the master and chooses to serve. In turn, the master assumes the responsibility for the slave's overall well-being and meeting their needs. The master's wish is the slave's will, and the slave trusts that they will be cared for. Question 2. In our minds, the MS dynamic is inherently different from the DS dynamic. It's 24/7. You can't surrender your will just some of the time. The level of commitment is much higher since you can't just turn it off. To us, collaring is at the same level of a marriage of sorts. In a DS relationship, our dynamics are still explored. However, the D and the S are on equal footing when it comes to doing it. Negotiating a DS relationship is more frequent as the S's have equal negotiation power even after the dynamic has been established. Question 3. It would probably benefit them to explore the dynamics of a DS relationship first because there's a set of power dynamics there. One is the dominant partner and the other, well, isn't. That's really different than just vanilla relationships because even if there's an unspoken DS feel, declaring that can be jarring. Jumping from vanilla to MS, there's a lot of room for resentment if there's no prior experience of any kind of power exchange role. We think lots of people have the 50 Shades scenario, porn dungeony tropes playing in their heads. They're not taking into account that in MS, day-to-day life will be part of it. Question 4. It all comes down to communication. Having mutual respect for each other's needs and understanding that those needs are not being met in the way expected. Caring and respect for each other is always the most important part of any relationship. Not saying any of this will be easy, by the way. Question 5. Well, we throw things at each other and maybe punch a wall here and there. But honestly, the way we handle confrontation is really no different than any other relationship. Question 6. In those situations, the rules are still there. Just because we're in front of family, that doesn't give Rubbery Paintbrush the freedom to relieve himself of his responsibilities as my slave. He still has to prepare my plate before he sits down to eat. He still has to tend to me unless I have explicitly given him permission to relax. And finally, question 7. Being in a master-slave relationship for us isn't even close to being what many envision one to be. He's the slave, but he still has the ability to make daily decisions and go about his day. Even though I'm his mistress, I have no problem cooking dinner and running errands. Ultimately, we have a mutual obligation to one another, which boils down to the same thing regardless of label. Doing our best to make sure the other's well-being and needs are being cared for. All right, again, that was from Mighty Bunny and Rubbery Paintbrush, and you can find them and their artwork on Twitter at ravensflockart.com. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.